perpetuating lies and deception is the only thing that you seem to know.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's the 7th of April, 2026. And these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. As always, holding the legacy media's feet to the fire. And now they're all of them lying. It's crazy.
You won't be trusted anymore.
Wow. All I can say is, wow. I got to tell you, I know there are a lot of people that are very fearful right now. And it's not like we don't have good reason to be. I mean, we're all feeling like, what the heck is going on in this insane clown world? We don't know what to believe. We don't know what is truth, what is lies, what is fact, what is fiction. It's like you're standing up in a hammock with roller skates on, juggling chainsaws. And you know what? That's exactly what the powers that be want. Because if you've got fear in your heart, it's really hard to make a decent decision. They always say, when you're having an emotional day, don't make any life-changing decisions. And it seems that we're all having an emotional day right now. We're all on the edge of our seats. There's a countdown going on right now, leading up to 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And that's when, or 8:30, the hour of 8, shall we say. That's when Trump says he's going to unleash hell on Iran. He's going to destroy all of their infrastructure, all of their energy, all of their bridges. And I'm saying, wait a second. I thought that he was there to liberate the Iranian people, to free them from tyranny. Okay, well, maybe there's something to be said for that. Yeah, I mean, nobody likes the extremist regime of the Ayatollah. But the point is, though, is if you want to liberate the people, why are you going to go after their infrastructure and destroy everything that holds them up? It doesn't seem to make sense. And it doesn't seem to make sense with a lot of the military either. I just want to share with you a retired U.S. General Mark Hertling is claiming that military commanders are preparing to defy Donald Trump. They are bound by the Constitution to disobey unlawful orders. Here's what he had to say.
I'm going to go back to something you said a minute ago because I've trained for 40 years as a soldier and as a commander. And when you're an officer in the United States Army, you're loyal to a couple of things. You're primarily loyal to the Constitution. You are also loyal to your superiors if they give, as you said, lawful orders. When they start giving unlawful orders, you find a way to push back on them and to make sure they adjust their approach. But you also are loyal to the soldiers that are under your command. So those three loyalties sometimes are conflicting. So I'm sure there's a lot of military commanders right now, a lot of senior officers who are saying to themselves, I can't obey an unlawful order. I can't do things that I know are absolutely wrong. But they also feel like they have to provide support for their soldiers who don't just get to quit. They have to stay in the military and potentially see an uprising in all of these things.
Yeah. I mean, would that be classified as a mutiny? I don't know. But there are many, many military officers. I mean, there have been many that are being fired right now because they won't goose step along with Trump's plan. And I think that they have a reasonable position on this. Because I don't want to see the Iranian people destroyed. I don't think anybody here in the United States wants to see the people of Iran be put through that type of hardship and destruction. I mean, you stop and think about it. If Trump bombs all the infrastructure, all the oil fields, all the gas, all the bridges, I mean, why don't you just go ahead and start bombing hospitals and colleges and universities and schools just like Israel does? Oh, wait. Just something just occurred to me. It's the methodology of Israel. Oh, maybe Israel has something to do with this. Maybe. But then on the other hand, I got to say, some of the stuff that Trump is doing, I mean, this does not seem to be the same Donald Trump that we saw 10 years ago, back in 2016. It seems that he has turned on a whole bunch of stuff. Now, maybe there's a plot behind this. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. Maybe there's something that we're all missing. You know, the Q posts always said, you know, save Israel for last. Well, Israel is getting pounded right now, absolutely destroyed. And they have nowhere to go. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, China has made an ultimatum, and there's no ambiguity about this whatsoever. China put out a statement, and I'll let you hear it. This is the, I don't know what his name is, but he's the representative from China, and he put out the following statement. Listen to this.
First of all, I want to tell the Israeli government and the Israeli leaders that the moment Israel uses a nuclear warhead against any other country, including against Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country, as a state. Therefore, think twice and always use the Chinese wisdom that if you dare to use a nuclear weapon against any other country, you may cause the demise of your own country. That's number one. Because mankind will never support Israel to use nuclear warhead against another country, killing hundreds of thousands, if not more, people.
Wow. That's pretty strong. Pretty strong statement, indeed. If you nuke another country, we will nuke you. I mean, is this where we're going? Anyway, Senator Chris Murphy basically made a statement in front of Congress here in discussion of the Strait of Hormuz. But anyway, so here's Senator Chris Murphy.
Here's the problem. The strait was open before the war began. We are now seeking to solve a problem that we created. This is insanity. $2 billion is a lot of money. That's the minimum amount of money that is being spent every single day on this war. There are over a dozen families who are burying their loved ones in the United States, and there may be dozens more if this war continues. Prices are skyrocketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have no idea as to how many casualties there really are in this conflict, because Trump classified the casualty numbers. So we can't know. Of course, they were saying at first there were 6 U.S. service members that lost their lives. Oh, now it's 7. And I haven't heard any mainstream updates since then. But George Galloway and many others are saying, hey, those numbers are severely out of whack. We've lost hundreds, if not over 1,000 so far. And, of course, we're hearing about the rescue of the pilot of the F-15, et cetera, et cetera. And many are challenging that entire narrative, that entire story. So more and more people are starting to look at what's going on with this president and saying, wait a second, how could this possibly be the Donald Trump that we knew 10 years ago? And I have to tell you, the tweet that Donald Trump put out on Easter Sunday, he put out a profanity-laden tweet. And it's just, that set Tucker Carlson off. You want to hear what Tucker Carlson's response to that tweet was? Hold on to your hats.
Open the effing strait. How dare you speak that way on Easter morning to the country? Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? Just watch. Praise be to Allah. This is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. We can't support that. That is evil. It is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country, blow up their bridges that people cross every day to go to school and work and to worship, and yes, church, because there are over 1 million Christians in Iran. This is their Easter too. And power plants, civilian power plants in a country of almost 100 million people. Iran is a modern country. What happens when it loses power? Well, people die. Babies connected to incubators die. People in hospitals die. It's totally unacceptable. Not under the phony laws of some international body, but under moral law, God's law, killing non-combatants, people who did nothing wrong, who didn't choose this war. We're just people created by God. That is immoral. That will never be moral. That can never be justified. That is always wrong.
And I'm inclined to agree with him. We are all human beings, and I don't care what your race, your religion, your nationality, your ethnic background, we all bleed the same blood. We all want four things in life: food, shelter, clothing, and love. And as far as I'm concerned, love should be at the top of the list. And like I said, I don't care what your background is. We all breathe the same air and bleed the same blood. And until we start to recognize that we are all one. If you hurt somebody else, you hurt yourself in the process. I don't know why people don't get that. Oh, that's so like New Age, Dave. That's like so esoteric, Dave. No, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. When you do something you know is wrong, you're hurting yourself. Sad thing is that there are a lot of people that just don't know, or they won't admit that what they're doing is wrong. Some people make a ritualistic practice out of it. You ever hear of the cremation of care? That's the ritual that they perform at the Bohemian Grove every year, where they go and they take all of their empathy and their compassion and their generosity and all those things that make you a decent human being, and they symbolically burn them in the fire. So that way you can be guilt-free when you commit atrocities and horrible things to other people. But they're only fooling themselves. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that track, but seriously, folks, this week we're living on the edge. We are living on the edge. There's so much going on. And of course, there's this moonshot, the Artemis 2. And I have some questions about that. I mentioned that yesterday. Some of the videos that they've been sending back make me cock my head to one side and go, because they just don't make sense. You know, we all hear about, computer-generated, images, CGI, et cetera, et cetera. We know about the green screens, and we know about, NASA. NASA's been lying for years and years. And I just recently, this morning, while I was going through all my news feeds, and I had my TV monitor on there, and they were showing some video, of the capsule. Of course, they were going to go around behind the far side of the moon and lose contact. But in the meantime, they were shooting some video. Now, I was watching this one video, and you could see the moon there, and it was dark. Oh, wow, they're on the dark side of the moon. And yet the space capsule from the outside was still in the sunlight. I'm sorry, but my head went to one side. I went, Why is the side of the space capsule in bright sunlight, and you could look at the angle where the shadow is on some of the equipment on the outside of this, not shuttle, but the capsule, whatever. And I could see the direction of the sun. And if that was the direction of the sun, then the moon below should have been in the sunlight. It just didn't make sense to me. I could be wrong. I could be. But the bottom line here is that, like I said, we've been lied to by every institution for decades, for our entire lives. It doesn't stop. So what's going to happen this week? Okay, well, of course, they're talking about this deadline for 8 o'clock that Trump is going to go in there and bomb the snake snot out of Iran. And many other countries are looking at this and saying, wait a second, this is the same methodology that Israel uses when going into places like Gaza or bombing southern Lebanon. Yeah, you got to take out the hospitals and the schools and the bridges and all the infrastructure. Those are all civilian targets, and those are classified as war crimes. But Israel's been getting away with it for decades and decades. So now the United States, unfortunately, has some crazy influence from Israel. Figure that one out. But anyway, so now we're looking at the United States using the same methodology that Israel used in Gaza, and then the United States is going to do it to Iran, supposedly, hypothetically, possibly. So how can we justify this? Now, I don't support the Ayatollah. I don't support an extremist Muslim regime. I don't support any of that. Okay, but I do not support, and I also do not support the idea that we're going to have to make all the civilians pay for the crimes of a regime. It just doesn't make sense to me. And more people are standing up. And if the United States if Trump follows through with this, and as he stated, bomb Iran back into the Stone Age, how do you think the rest of the world is going to look upon us? Well, I don't think it's going to be a good thing. And, meanwhile, let me see if I can find it. I had an email up here. Iran had put out a statement that they were going to start targeting all of the infrastructure. Let me see if this is it. No, that's not it. Okay, I flagged it. I go through my email and I put a flag on all the important stories. And unfortunately, I got flag after flag after flag after flag here. Let's see here. Where is it? There was a list of all the businesses in the United States that Iran was going to target, because they know that the United States is being run by the military-industrial complex, because of the fact that we send, $3.8 billion to Israel every year, and of course that covers their health care and their education systems and all the other bennies that they get. But the bottom line is a good chunk of that money gets sent back to the United States because they're doing business with the military-industrial complex and buying all the bombs and tanks and planes and everything else that goes into doing war. But the bottom line here is that there was a list of businesses that Iran put out and said, guess what? Those are going to be our targets, because we understand that money is your God, in other words. And I've said that numerous times on this broadcast. Remember, I discussed the bumper sticker? It had a cross, a star of David, not David, of Remphan. If you know, you know. And it had an Egyptian Ankh, and it had a crescent moon with a star, and then it had a dollar sign, and it asked the question, which one do you worship? And then underneath it says, don't answer, we already know. So I think that if it's deeds and not words, most, if not all, of the Western countries in the world worship money, whether it be a pound or a dollar or a yen or a yuan or a peso or a shekel or a mark or whatever. Money seems to be their God, because they do any and everything they can to obtain it. Okay? Morals be damned. It's all about the profit. And, there was a documentary that was put out about 20 years ago, and I highly recommend it. It was called The Corporation. And it examines exactly what a corporation is, when corporations were thunk up, why they were thunk up, and they did a psychological evaluation of a corporation according to what it does. And if there was a human being, of course, a corporation is a quote-unquote legal person. And if that was an embodied real person, the psychological profile would basically have them they are pathological murderers. I mean, if there's a penny for profit to be made, a corporation will kill their own family. That's what it comes down to. It's not about anything other than the profit. Profit is God. Corporations are legally bound to make decisions on behalf of their shareholders. That's just the way it is. So anyway, I digress. Okay, let's see. Getting back to this issue about Iran here, Scott Ritter has been putting out some very strong statements, and he has a podcast. He calls it Judging Freedom Podcast. Here's a recent statement from Scott Ritter.
It's 40 days into the war. If it was important, we would have bombed it already. I'm just pointing that fact out. If it was important, we would have bombed it already. So now the targets he's talking about hitting are targets that have nothing to do with Iran's military capabilities. It's purely civilian targets, which makes it a war crime. Now, the president said that he doesn't view it as a war crime because the Iranians, he says, slaughtered 50,000 of their own people, et cetera. But what the president forgets is just the other day, he admits that we provided weapons to the protesters. That means they're not protesters. That means they're insurrectionists. That means they're traitors, and they deserve the harshest punishment possible. But we also know that the 50,000 figure is just a manufactured figure from Mossad and others. The Iranians say that just under 4,000 people were killed. Many of them died at the hands of the insurrectionists. Other people say that as many as 7,000 could have been killed. I don't know. But what I do know is that these were not peaceful demonstrators. These were demonstrators armed by Mossad and the CIA who were carrying out violent attacks against Iranian authority.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. That has now proven to be true. Yes, the CIA and the Mossad did have agents or assets in these crowds. Yes, they were armed. And yes, some of the people who were killed in those demonstrations or protests or uprisings, whatever, the bullets were from Israel, okay? So, yeah, there's a certain amount of an element of truth in what he's saying here.
And the Iranians reacted and crushed them. People in the United States need to understand what would happen here if suddenly Antifa suddenly woke up with machine guns and started gunning down cops in the streets, killed 100 cops in one day in 6 major American cities. You think we'd just sit back and do nothing? Or do you think we would declare war on Antifa and that there would be gunfights? There's a little bit of a hypocrisy and double standard here.
Yeah, you think? Absolutely. So we got this countdown going on, so whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We have no control over that. And if Trump is going to be firing any military officials that aren't willing to goose step along with his plans, well, then he's going to do it. But now it's coming down to how many military personnel are going to absolutely say, no, we're not going to do this. If Trump, decides that he wants to send a whole snot load of planes, off to do some military action, and all of the pilots say, no, I'm not doing that. That would sort of derail his entire plan, wouldn't it? So anyway, so where are we now? Okay, I just mentioned this Artemis thing, this moon shot. What is the timing of this? When are they supposed to return? They're supposed to return on the 10th, which is Friday? Friday. So now there are other things that people are saying that things are going to come to a head on Friday. And then you factor in this issue about the disclosure, all this discussion about aliens and hybrids and back engineering of UFOs and real UFOs. Operation Bluebeam. There's so much going on to keep us all, like I said, standing up in a hammock with roller skates on, juggling chainsaws. But maybe that's the plan. As long as we are in a state of fear, we don't have control. No, we don't. As a matter of fact, there was a statement here. Let me see where I can find this one. Where did it go? I just had it here. I got so many windows open here. Let me see. I'll scroll through. Is it over here? Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, listen to this. This is really interesting. A little analogy about fear. And by the way, I remind you that in the Bible, 365 times you are told, do not fear. Fear not. Do not fear. That's once for every day in the year. There's got to be a reason for that. And I've said many, many times that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear, because fear begets hate. Listen to this.
What religion does, by the way. If I believe that my way is the only way, then I am what? I am right and you are
wrong.
And if I am right and you are wrong, then we are in oneness or in separation.
Separation.
And if we're in separation, are we in love or fear?
Fear.
And if we are in fear, are we in victim energy or creator energy?
Victim energy.
And if we're in victim energy, can we ever actually create the human embodiment and life that we actually are capable of creating?
No.
Absolutely.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really wild, isn't it? And by the way, for all you creators out there that create these little video vignettes, dump the music. Leave the music out. I want to hear what they're saying. Some of these posts that people put out, the speaker is making some very important points, but you can't hear it because, they have the music so doggone loud. It's sort of like Okay, I have to tell you something. It's so important. I'm going to give you the secrets of the world. Okay, the mystery about this country. You see what I mean? You can't understand the single word that I just said because the music is so doggone loud. So for all you creators out there, either turn the music all the way down, just give it a little bit of background, or get rid of it altogether. I don't give a snake snot about what kind of spooky music. I don't care about that crap. I want to hear what the people are saying. It just ticks me off when I have to go through this and say, what? I have to go back and play it again? What did he say? What was that? Anyway. All right. Let's see. We're coming up. It's time for a break. Yeah, why not?
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get More Tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page. It'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifications and details about how and why this fuel catalyst works so well. That's right, it's a catalyst. It's not an additive. It makes your fuel burn at a lower temperature. It's more efficient. It's cleaner, and that's good for the environment. You get more power, which is cool. But the biggie is that after a few tanks, you'll start to see an improvement in your mileage, anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending upon your make, model, and year of vehicle, and, of course, your driving habits. So if you do the math, when you use the promo code, you get 5 tablets for $20, 1 tablet per tank, and if you're getting 20% better mileage, do the math. That means the 5th tank is free. Now, with the price of fuel these days, I don't think you have to think too much about it. So why wouldn't you want Get More Tank? Hey, visit our website. Go to TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get More Tank. And now I'll play the segue music for real. Okay, 34 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in, and I got a couple more clips here. I got one here from really one of the head honchos of God's chosen people. Yeah, okay, not Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, yeah. And he's got a quote here in this. He was speaking in his native tongue, and unfortunately the transcript or the transcript is in Spanish? Yeah, it looks like it's in Spanish. So I just have to read what was printed here. The translation says, quote, I was the one who stripped the Palestinians of all their rights in prison. I took away their dining halls and food, their visits, their yard time, their right to study. And now I want to take their lives too. Okay, that's a nice statement from one of God's chosen people. This genocidal Ben Gvir, he's Israel's security minister. He was boasting about stripping the kidnapped Palestinians in his dungeons of all their human rights, and now he says he wants to take their lives through the death penalty. This is a psychopath. I mean, they passed that law a couple days ago. We talked about it, and they were tipping champagne glasses and toasting the idea that they were now going to have executions of all the Palestinian prisoners. I will call them hostages, because that's what Israel called the people being held, the Israelis being held in Gaza. They were hostages. Okay, well, I'm sorry, but Israel is holding hostages as well. There's no telling exactly how many, but anywhere between 9 and 12,000 hostages being held under those conditions by God's chosen people. When does it stop, folks? When does humanity wake up? You know, there are a lot of people that are saying, you know, that this war in Iran, this is the Epstein war. You know, okay? Well, I would be inclined to agree. You know, we're finding out more and more about the Epstein files. What was, you know, we only got 3 million pages, and there's supposedly 10 times that amount. And, of course, many of them are redacted. But anyway, these Epstein files, I can't help but think that those files have already been leaked around the world, just like Anthony Weiner's laptop, just like Hunter Biden's laptop. I can't help but think that these Epstein files have indeed been leaked all over the world, and they're being used as leverage against certain people. Maybe that's why Trump is doing what he's doing, because they're saying that there's a lot in there about Trump, and they said at first, you know, that he was exonerated because he was not guilty of anything. Well, maybe the files are saying something different. We may never know. But anyway, moving on to a slightly different topic here. Humanity is at the edge right now. We don't know what's going to happen in this crazy clown world. We do know that, you know, if you're basing your opinions on information provided, and that information is misinformation or disinformation or flat out lies, that means that the opinions we form based upon that information are extensions of the lie. So we don't know, we can't even trust our own opinions if we're listening to the mainstream media, which is why yours truly has been screaming about this for 3 decades. That's why the opening tune, you know, my theme music, if you will, is You Won't Be Trusted Anymore. You can look it up. You punch my name into YouTube, and you'll find all my music out there, and that title cut, You Won't Be Trusted Anymore. I wrote that back in 1996, 30 years ago, and dedicated it to the mainstream media, because lying is what they do best. Anyway, that said, where is our civilization going? Because I guarantee you that if our entire Western civilization is being influenced or even governed by people who torture children, people who grape children, people who molest children, people who beat and torture children, people who bleed and cannibalize children. If we are being led by that type of people, and I'm not talking just the United States or just Israel, I'm talking about the entire West. I'm talking about the Netherlands. I'm talking about Europe. I'm talking about all the Western countries that seem to be involved in these crazy, insane, pathological, satanic, Luciferian activities, then we are destined to fail. So how do we cleanse ourselves from this cancer? And there's no other word to put it. And unless we can cut that tumor out of humanity, humanity's going to die. And you know what? We'll deserve it too. Anyway, this is a post from Amadeus Charisse Lee, and she had the following statement to make, and I think it's worthy of replaying here. Here it is.
This is where civilizations stop being worth saving, not when they're poor, not when they're weak, but when grown men start sexualizing, exploiting, or abusing children, and instead of immediate unified outrage, you get silence, excuses, power games, or people trying to blur the line. Let's say it clearly so nobody can hide behind soft language. Pedophilia, adults engaging in sexual acts with children, grooming them, trafficking them, or protecting those who do, is not a mistake, not a kink, not a gray area. It is one of the clearest markers of a civilization in moral freefall. And history doesn't whisper about this, it screams it. Empires don't just collapse because of enemies outside, they collapse because something inside them breaks. Rome didn't fall at its peak strength. It fell after it rotted, after power became indulgence, indulgence became perversion, and perversion became normalized among people who thought they were untouchable. When a society gets so bored, so numb, so corrupted by its own comfort that it starts violating its own children, that's not decadence, that's decay. That's a system that has lost its soul. Because once you cross that line, everything else follows like clockwork. You cannot have a class of people exploiting children and still have a functioning system. Why? Because those people become blackmail risks. They become compromised. They become controllable. And now your leaders aren't making decisions for the nation. They're making decisions to protect their secrets. That's how you get corruption that never gets prosecuted. That's how you get elites protecting each other. That's how you get truth buried, justice delayed, and entire institutions turning into shields for predators. It's not random. It's a pattern. And here's the part people don't want to say out loud. A nation that fails to protect its children forfeits its moral authority to exist as a civilized society. Period. You can have money, weapons, influence, technology. None of it matters if the most innocent are being exploited while the powerful look the other way or worse, participate. That's not progress. That's not freedom. That's a collapsing empire wearing a modern mask. So no, this is not something we soften, debate into oblivion, or tiptoe around to protect feelings or reputations. This is where the line has to be absolute and immovable. No loopholes. No, but he's important. No, but she's powerful. No, but what about politics? No. If a society tolerates or protects child exploitation in any form, sexual abuse, trafficking, grooming, or networks that enable it, it is actively digging its own grave. Because history has already shown us how this ends, not with one dramatic moment, but with internal collapse. Trust dies, justice dies, leadership rots, and eventually the empire falls. Not because it was attacked, but because it became something unworthy of survival. So if people want to talk about saving a nation, start there. Protect children like the entire future depends on it, because it does. The moment that line gets blurred, you're not watching a strong society anymore. You're watching the beginning of the end.
Yeah, truer words have never been spoken. And yours truly's been screaming about this for a long, long time. And I was saying that if we can unmask the monsters behind this Luciferian agenda to destroy our children, to have, trafficking. I mean, I think about the railroad cars rolling across, America right now. How many of those containers contain children? And unless we stop this, our entire civilization, not just our country, but the entire civilization will collapse. It cannot stand when you under that on that type of foundation. It just isn't going to happen. So, I mean, I think that this is an issue here that is forcing people to wake up. And I got to tell you, there was a military guy here. I'm looking at his statement, and it was about 8 minutes long, and there was some profanity in there. I have to mention, but I wanted to play it, but I would have had to edit the heck out of it. But anyway, there are more and more veterans, military personnel, and concerned citizens that are banding together, and they're going to go after the pedophiles. Yeah, and I hope that they do. I really do. And I'm sorry, there are some folks out there says, yeah, we got to take those guys and throw them in jail and throw away the key. No. Why should we put them in prison? And it would cost the taxpayer anywhere between $100,000 and $120,000 a year to keep them alive. Why would you want to keep them alive? They're not going to be rehabilitated. It ain't going to happen. I'm sorry, but capital punishment, it needs to be reinstated. Not that it was ever, abandoned, but we just don't have the guts, the testicular fortitude to put that into a practice because it's so inhumane. Yeah, you can't be killing people. I'm sorry. But there are folks that prescribe a wood chipper for somebody who does stuff like that. And I'm inclined to believe it, to agree. But, there is a real push right now. Humanity is waking up. It's painfully slow. It's like watching a huge train wreck in super slow-mo. And every day that train wreck, the train moves an inch. Every day we wake up and look, and the train wreck is still going on. When does it stop? Well, it stops when we all basically go look in the mirror and look beyond the eyes, look beyond the face that's looking back and figure out who we are. Why are we here? And again, I've said it you've heard it before. You come into this world naked, you're going to go out naked. All you get to take is the love. Whatever love that you receive and whatever love you give. Because my God is a God of love. And I think that most of the listeners would agree. But no, the world is changing, folks. There is a great awakening, a shift, for lack of a better word, a bright light bulb going off over humanity. They're starting to see it. And now how are we going to break the shackles that we're all being confined by these evil monsters who have taken over the entire Western world? I don't know. But either way, no matter how you slice it, a change is coming.
But I know there are people out there that get the message I'm sending out. And this is very simple. We are at the moment in a cycle of life where everybody, if you're just a little bit aware, you can feel something is shifting. Some people are not willing to maybe adapt to the change. Some people are not strong enough to adapt to the change. Some people don't know how to put it into practice in order to go with the change. It is my perspective. There will come the time, and it's not going to take long, where a natural separation is going to take place, a natural separation. The ones that are able to read the signs, that are able to go with what is happening, to adapt to the changes this world is bringing to us, they will move on to another world. They will move on to another area, to another cycle of us humans being right now here on the earth. And other people that are unwilling, unable, maybe incapable of adapting to the coming changes. It is simple like this. They will stay with the old world, which is about to end. That's the message. That's all what this is about. An old era is about to come to an end. A new era is about to come. This is worldwide happening. It's happening inside our monastery. It's happening inside of me.
It's happening inside of all of us. And by the way, that's a statement from Shaolin Master Shi Heng Yi. And I'm inclined to agree with him totally. There's no escaping it. The change is going to come because people are seeing, that people are knowing, people are understanding. And people have had enough of it. I know I have. So let me see here. Oh, yeah. Pam Bondi, of course, we heard that she was, well, some people say fired, others say she was reassigned. And who is the replacement? Who could it be? Todd Blanche. Yeah, who is this guy? Well, I have to tell you, there's a woman, she posts on X, she calls it the Leah Files. I can't remember what her last name is. I looked it up before. But anyway, she posts some really interesting information. Here's what she had about Todd Blanche. And I tell you, it just doesn't stop. The corruption is just, you think when you think, oh, we've got some good people in there, and all of a sudden you find out that those good people were not just bad people, but really bad people. Here's what she had to offer here.
All right, let's talk about this POS Todd Blanche that is now our acting AG.
A POS, she starts off. Oh, okay.
In my previous videos, you know that I think Todd Blanche was in charge of the cover-up the entire time. I think Pam Bondi was just a mouthpiece. So I want to talk about his involvement in some of this Epstein stuff, and it's really dark. If you want to see the full deep dive investigation, head to my Substack. I posted it 2 days ago. So a little bit of background. Todd Blanche was a federal prosecutor in New York, actually in the same district that the whole Epstein file stuff was going on. So he was there for 8 years and then went private. So he left for Big Law, he made partner, and then in 2023, right before Trump's arraignment, Trump put him on the defense team, and the firm that Todd Blanche worked for, their ethics committee said, no, this is a violation, you can't do that. Todd Blanche was like, bet. So he left, started his own firm, registered as a Republican because he was a Democrat until then. And then he defended Trump across 3 of his trials, the hush money trial, the classified documents trial, and got upwards of $10 million, his firm did, from Trump, Trump's super PAC actually, so it was donor funded. So donors to Trump's PAC actually paid Todd Blanche $10 million. Trump wins the cases, and Blanche goes on to become deputy AG. As soon as Todd Blanche takes over as deputy AG, he calls up New York and he says, hey, send me all the Epstein documents. We're taking it from here. Daddy's home. Then he goes and interviews Ghislaine Maxwell for 2 days. She says there's no client list, there's no blackmail. Trump never did anything wrong. And then she gets moved to a cush prison in Texas with a puppy. Todd Blanche said it was because there were threats against her life, but that typically gets solitary confinement, not transferred to a minimum security prison. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. Pam Bondi testified just in February that she wasn't aware that this happened. So they did this without telling the AG. Interesting. And she was told that Ghislaine wouldn't be moving to a minimum security prison, but what they do, they moved her to a minimum security prison. Sex traffickers, they don't get that treatment. They're never supposed to be in a minimum security prison. So there are so many things wrong with this, but it gets worse. I want to talk about Operation Chain Reaction. In 2010, the DEA started an investigation into Epstein, drugs, prostitution, money laundering, what they investigate. This was a separate investigation that the DEA was doing, and the task force that was doing it are the same people that took down El Chapo. By 2015, that investigation had tracked $50 million, $6 million of it Epstein had purchased, like meth and ketamine and drugs, and they found like 15 different targets that they were going after and 2 institutions based on this investigation. They produced a 69-page memo that gets released in the Epstein files release, but it is all redacted. Senator Ron Wyden is like, hey, I want to see this unredacted version. And the DEA was about to hand it over to him before Todd Blanche personally stepped in a few weeks ago and said, nope. He stopped it. So you're telling me that they can go, the senators and House committee could go see any unredacted files they wanted, but this one, Todd Blanche personally stepped in and said, It's an unclassified document. And the DEA was about to hand it over. But one more thing, because this unit, it's the OCDETF unit, the largest organized crime task force that we have, over 37,000 investigations. Well, in 2025, this administration was like, no, you're done. Budget 0, and they cut them. So the same unit that was investigating Epstein's network was all of a sudden disbanded. Make it make sense. So Todd Blanche gets $10 million from Trump's PAC to represent him, gets made deputy AG, is head of the cover-up of the Epstein files, and nobody is holding this man accountable. And then a few days ago, he told us that we needed to get over the Epstein files. We needed to move on from them. No, baby, our foot is on your neck now, and you need to be held responsible for your part in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, like I said, just when we think that we're going to get a good guy, we end up with another bad or badder guy. So, anyway, let's see. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left of the broadcast here. Yeah, if you want to call in, you're welcome to do so. 215-867-8255. And, of course, everybody's on the edge of their seat as to what's going to happen in Iran in the next, 6-7 hours. No, less than that, 5 hours. So, and, there are some folks saying that, maybe Iran and the United States are working together to take out Israel and to take out the Bank of London. That's something to think about. But then again, I don't see how you would justify, destroying, killing so many civilians to achieve that goal. But then again, the city of London and the banking industry that has, got its tentacles into all the Western countries, except for a few, taking that huge behemoth out of the picture or dethroning it or emasculating it or utterly destroying it, that's no easy task. No. So I don't know. I'm on the fence either way. I certainly don't, like I said, I don't see any justification whatsoever in killing, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of civilians. I mean, think about what the long-term ramifications are going to be. If Iran is destroyed, and in the meantime, don't think that they aren't going to be taking out other infrastructure around in the other countries, in Qatar, in the UAE, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, all of these countries, Kuwait, they've all got U.S. military bases, and they all have infrastructure. They all have water desalination plants. They all have power generating plants. And if Iran knows that it's going to be taken out, they will unleash missiles from hell. Don't think that they don't have them. As a matter of fact, I saw a report over the weekend that China was supplying Iran with all kinds of military hardware and all kinds of missiles. I heard that there were 17 transports from China into Iran with lots of military supplies. So, Iran's got some friends. Iran's got China on their side. Iran's got Russia on their side. And as the United States and Israel start to show their true colors, more and more countries are saying, look, we don't want to have anything to do with this. Spain has told the United States, you may not fly over our airspace. France has told the United States, you may not fly over our airspace. Italy, you may not fly over our airspace. Switzerland. More and more countries are saying, look, we're not going to play games with you anymore. You're going to be on your own. And once some of these, what happens if some of these targets end up being here in stateside in the United States? What if our power plants start being destroyed? What if our infrastructure, bridges, or electrical grids? What if they start being attacked? Don't think it can't happen, folks. We don't forget the border was opened until Trump got in. He did a good job closing the border, but by that time, the barn doors were open. Millions of illegals flooding into the country under the Biden administration. Many of them military age Chinese, many military age from the Middle East that don't like our country. There's a reason why many of those Middle Eastern countries, including Iran, call the United States the Great Satan. Well, heck, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck, it's a duck. And if you're involved in satanic rituals, and if you're involved in Luciferian or satanic activities, well, then you must be a satanic, Luciferian, evil son of a bitch. And that's why they call us the Great Satan. They call Israel the little Satan, and they call us the Great Satan because we basically are supplying the little Satan with all the weapons of war that they need to destroy everything around them. And that's why I wanted to play that clip earlier in this broadcast. China basically telling Israel, hey, look, if you use a nuclear bomb, you're going to be on the receiving end of the same. And meanwhile, a lot of Israelis who are not the brainwashed maniacs, unfortunately, the sane Israelis seem to be in a very small minority because the overwhelming majority of the Israelis, they actually support the idea of killing the children of Gaza because the children are terrorists. And if they're not terrorists now, they will grow up to be terrorists. And that I can understand why. Israel's been bombing the snake snot out of them and mowing the lawn ever since 1948. And every child that had the luxury of actually growing up, of course he's going to hate Israel. What do you think he's going to do, bake you a cake? Oh, man. World's gone bat crap crazy, that's for sure. All right. Well, boy, that hour went by quickly, didn't it? All right, if you're enjoying the broadcast, and I certainly hope that you are, I would humbly request that you click like, share, subscribe, and make a comment, and do some business with our advertisers, whether it be get more tank or you want to get a wave watch or buy some merch. We got some pretty cool coffee cups, baseball caps, and T-shirts out there. So visit our website, TheWTFReports, and to help support the cause. All right, that said, that's going to bring us to an end of the Taco Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'll be back again tomorrow, God willing, and we'll just have to see what happens in the next 5 hours, okay? All right, well, until tomorrow, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and like I said, God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.